Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for accommodating the time changes as well. We're going to start off with some in-depth country briefings, and I'm absolutely delighted to be able to MC a few discussions. The purpose of this entire conference is to look at the MENA region as its own offering to the mining industry and to the world, as the global economy will require increased amount of metals and minerals for normal economic growth. But now we have on top of that the increased demand being triggered by the energy transition. And so now there's this explosion in mineral demand growth, and we're the opening of new frontiers, frankly. This conference is the first of its kind. There's been no focus on mining in this region. And so one of the critical questions here is, how can the region look at mining and create a new hub for the world? What does that look like? Where is it? How are the various countries in the region going to work together? What are the new lands of opportunity? What is the relative prospectivity? What are the preconditions to allow for that success to be achieved? Areas such as establishing legal frameworks. How do they have partnerships? How do they create an ecosystem throughout the entirety of a value chain that allows for the region to contribute meaningfully to the global economy? And then how do countries develop the capacity of the people to be able to contribute to their own destiny and to the world economy? How do we create this holistic ecosystem for the long term? These are just some of the key questions that we look forward to exploring on a country-by-country basis. And with that, I'd like to first open the session and invite Mr. Salem Almahrooki, advisor to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources from the Sultanate of Oman. Salem, please, welcome you up on stage.
Thank you, Frank.
Please.
Yeah, we have a 5 minutes presentation. Okay. Could you please fire it? Yeah. So I've got about 5 slides to just set the scenes and to just introduce the prospectivity of minerals in Oman. Basically why for a foreign investor or even local serious investor, why they should invest in Oman. As a way of introduction, Oman association with mining, it goes back to 3000 BC, so that's 5,000 years ago. Oman used to, there are plenty of evidence, historic remnants, slugs, remnants of historic furnaces scattered all over northern Oman, a testimony that Oman used to not only to extract but also to smelter the copper and export it to the old civilizations in Iraq. In fact, the Ashuris in the Iraqi civilization, in their script and in their writing, they refer to Oman as Majan, which means it is the land of the copper or the mountain of the copper. But certainly, this is not why you should invest in Oman. Oman, there basically why we should invest in Oman, there are 4 or 5 really reasons. When we look at it in terms of mineral endowment and prospectivity, We have already an concession ready to invest concessions. So Oman has been divided into several concessions, and these concessions they will be offering to the international investors. We have a governance in the form of the Ministry of of Energy and Minerals as a regulator and as administrator of the sector. The mining law was recently updated in 2019, but with everything, with all the development going out, the international trends with the energy transition and ESG and so on, we are also looking at the law again, trying to review it as part of the modernization of Oman and the emplacement of the new sultan, as well as part of the economic diversification. Also, part of the governance is the formation of the Mining Development Oman as an investment, a government investment arm, not only to invest in Oman, but also to invest outside Oman and to bring also partners, whether it is in upstream or the downstream. Also, the logistics and the road networks, the proximity to the market. So if we look at the mineral prospectivity, there are two mineral provinces in Oman. The northern Oman, which is dominated by a type of rocket called ophiolite, which is it's a slab of an oceanic crust that has been emplaced into the Arabian continent. So that's dominating really the entire topography of the northern Oman, all the way from the border with the UAE to the Sur. And then we've got the southern Oman. Most of the metals are associated with the ophiolite succession, while the industrial minerals, they are scattered everywhere, but in terms of quantity and quality, they are concentrated in the southern Oman. The area Oman is really highly prospective, and to give you just a feel, there are about 31 to 35 known minerals. Actually, what we produce from these 30 to 35 is only about 11. And out of those 11, 80% of our production, it comes from 4 commodities. Basically, it's the marble, aggregates, gypsum, and chromite. Oman is the second largest producer in chromite, is the seventh largest exporter of chromite, and it is the first exporter of gypsum. But in terms of the energy transition and future minerals, prospectivity is there for the nickel, lithium, rare earths, uranium, and so on. Even there is a huge chunk of rock called peridotites, which research has shown its ability to absorb CO2. We can talk further about it during the conversation. This is one of the government initiatives. We have divided Oman into 37 concessions. These are huge concessions in area excess of 2,000 square kilometers, and they are really following the geology of Oman. And the beauty of these concessions and the geology of Oman is very close to the beach, to the coastline, which means in terms of logistics, it's a quite competitive advantage. And we are going into concession for 2 reasons. One of them is that we want to try to explore as much as we can, trying to increase the possibility of success. Now, these are 2,000 plus square kilometers, so the possibility for success for exploration is higher. And as well, we like to create a value add for any investor that's coming to Oman by the sense that if they have huge area, the possibility of success is higher, the reserve will be higher, and then we can discuss the possibility of downstream industry and sustainability of the mining activities. Yes, sorry. In term, logistics, we've got at least 7 ports. 3 of them are major ports in Salalah, Duqm, and Suhar. And these are not only ports, but they are also industrial free zones. We've got beautiful network, road of near over 1,200, over 12,000 kilometers of paved roads. Oman's strategic location is an asset. We are in close proximity to Asia, Africa, Middle East, which means we have access to a market that is more than 3.5 billion in terms of population. These are coppers, which is the most precious commodities that we have. It's normally gold is associated, gold and silver is normally associated with copper. There are 3 development projects in the pipeline that we expect to be producing in about two years. By the way, Oman is used to produce copper until 2014, were 4 different, and we are the first country in the region, in fact, to have a copper smelter and refinery. So with the upstream opportunity, there is also the downstream opportunity. So there is the opportunity for beneficiation. There is opportunity for, especially when we are talking about metals, there is opportunity for beneficiation, concentration, refinery, whether refining the metals, whether these are copper, manganese, chromite, and so on. But also in terms of the industrial minerals like the gypsum, dolomite, limestone. In Oman, we have got 2 competitive advantages in terms of industrial mineral. The security of the supply, huge amount of limestone. We are not talking in terms of billions of tons, but trillions of tons. Gypsum, also at least 1 billion, 2 billion of confirmed reserve. And also it's the quality, it's the grade. The limestone, especially in the south of Oman, it's a chemical grade, more than 97% calcium carbonate, and it's the same with the gypsum. So the opportunity for the downstream and Oman to become a hub for the downstream for industrial mineral, it's there in terms of security of supply, in terms of quality, in terms of infrastructure. I apologize for my voice. I had a very bad cold for the last 7 days, but I assure you I have no flu. So in summary, what really need, like we have the discussion over most of yesterday, it's like any other part of the region. Oman requires an extensive exploration. The country is really, I would call it virgin in terms of mineral exploration compared to the oil exploration, despite we have this long history of mineral extraction. So that's my 10 minutes or 5 minutes pitch about Oman.
Well, thank you very much for that. The land of copper. I learned something. I guess just a couple of initial reflections. you know, you have this history, rich history of mining that you shared, but it's kind of gone away,
Yep.
and now you're trying to resuscitate it. You have a vibrant oil and gas industry. What parallels can you draw on that you can build on to revitalize the mining industry that you, I mean, are you thinking about, are you able to borrow some lessons from oil and gas? I mean, you truly have best practices in Oman that you can lend to that.
This is an excellent question, and I think.
Of course, as we were talking earlier, although it's one ministry, these are two very different.
Absolutely.
One ministry, two different industries.
Absolutely. Until 2009, until 2020, in fact, there was a public authority for mining, which is a separate entity. And when His Majesty Sultan Haytham came into power in 2020, one of the shuffles in terms of the country administrative, the government, the reshuffle, is to bring the mining sector to the Ministry of Oil and Gas and to call it the Ministry of Energy and Minerals. And in my mind, that's for the it's for the it's for the mining sector to learn basically from the best practices that we have and the success that we have in the oil and gas. And I truly believe that is the reason. Because we struggled over the last 50 years to raise the bar of the mining sector to be at the same level. So there I do apologize profoundly. So the concession aspect, which I have explained, that came really, the ideas came from the oil and gas industry. Okay. And why concession? It gives the security of the tenor to the investor. It's huge. It's open the country to the outside, and also it gets ratified by a royal decree. So it gets a royal stamp. The process of issuing the concession is much faster compared to issuing a mineral license, which normally takes 2 years in Oman. So that is one of the best practices that we learn from it. Oil and gas sector is self-regulating. It's professional in term professionality in terms of HSE, operational excellence. It's dealing with the local communities. So all of that's learning. It can be really translated into the mining sector. One aspect in Oman, one of the successes of the oil and gas is the formation of the local community contractor. We call them super LLC companies, of which the communities that are living very close to the oil field, they form these local community companies which provide logistical support and services to the oil, and it's been really very successful. That can be replicated as one of the learning. Also, in terms of the ESG, it is very mature in terms of the oil and gas.
Yes.
And it's basically taking the learning from there and trying to translate it with, of course, you need to tweak it with respect to the mining industry. The challenges are somehow similar, but they are also different in a different magnitude or a different dimension.
Yes, thank you. It's fascinating the way also the learning of how you involve the local community at the well site or now the mine site, creating that local buy-in, because that's especially with a mine.
Yeah.
as we were talking about before, you know, this is going to be there for 30 to 50 years of operation. So having that local support is absolutely critical. Of course, you have the new mining, not new anymore, but the mining code, the MDO formation, all these reforms. Those are all legal license to operate. But this community element speaks directly to the social license to operate, which you must have. Well, they're waving to me that we are out of time. So thank you, Salem, for your sharing about Oman, and very much look forward to continuing the conversation one day in Muscat.
Thank you very much, Frank, for that interview. I'm pleased to be here as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sorry?
Is
Oh, I don't know. No, it's
Thank you, Mr. Salah. This is Abdulaziz Zahrani, ALS Arabia, Mineral Manager in Saudi Arabia.
حياك
And
الله.
we have our own lab also in Oman. I just have a question regarding the reserve of chromite in Oman. What is the value of that? Is it big reserve of chromite? Thank you, Thomas.
It's a very good question. We know we have chromite. We are currently producing in the order of 700,000 ton to 800,000 ton, and as I mentioned, is the second largest exporter of chromite in Oman. We don't have really a solid figure in terms of chromite. However, we have awarded several licenses to MDO, and initial licenses, they extend up to 75 square kilometers, so it's huge. Hopefully, by the end of their exploration, at least in certain area, we will have some form of quantification. But again, with those northern Oman blocks, which you have seen concession, that will give us some figures in the future. Hopefully, within the next 2 to 3 years, we will have some figures. But the plan is not only to produce, to explore and produce, but also to add value by either creating a beneficiation plant or making ferrochromite plants or even a stainless steel that is associated with it. But you are right. First, we need to confirm the reserve. I think the security of the supply is essential before we go into the downstream.